Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Well, if you look outside right there, thankfully we got some rain coming down. We're definitely needing it. In fact, like one retired farmer told me here several years ago, God turned on the big irrigator. And so, anyway, hopefully it'll just keep raining nice and steady all evening and all night. That'd be perfect. Well, hey, sure enough, thought I'd bring you in right quick. This morning, I was actually working on this bean head with the air gun, getting it all cleaned up from combining rye. And I'm pretty much all done with it, other than I just got done what I call unlocking the sickle. Let me see here if I can show you. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, right up underneath here where the sickle floats up and down, right here underneath this bar, you can put a strap. In fact, you can see the little wear mark right there where the strap was. And yeah, it bolts into a hole right here and one wrapped around the other side. And that actually locks the sickle rigid for doing wheat and or rye. So I just got done taking those straps off because I need to take the air gun and clean up and blow anything that's laying on top of this skid plate. Clean all that out with the air gun. But like I said, this morning though, I went and cleaned out everything all inside of it. All the stuff, all the chaff, straw, rye, and all that kind of thing. So the head's pretty much all cleaned out. And then, in fact, if it had not been raining, I would have actually been taking the air gun and cleaning out the combine. But I'm not going to complain about the rain. So, what we did do is, if you saw my video yesterday, Rye Harvest Part 2, I told you about rebuilding the right-hand final drive on that combine. And today, Dad had to run to town, and so when he was in town, he ran on over to the AGCO dealership and got the parts to rebuild that. So I just thought I'd show you here right quick. Okay, there's a little bit of a breakdown of it. There's the outer housing of the final drive. Right there's the big bowl gear. This right here to be, well, the big axle shaft. The axle, well, you can see that right there. This part right here, that's where your lug bolts all go in. That's where you take and bolt your rim on. And that actually goes in through the housing. And this big bowl gear goes over top of these teeth right here. This here is the back housing plate. And this here is the back bearing that goes on this end of the axle. And let me see here if I can, trying to find it. No, take that back. This here is the outside or the front bearing that goes clear up here on this part of the axle. Once you put this back plate on, then you got the back bearing right here that goes on that end. And so, just thought to show you some big bearings. Yeah, right there we go. That's a nice big one. That's the outside one. Right there's the big race, or they actually call it a cone. Drops in there just like that. Here's the back bearing. And as you can see, that right there is fair sized also. Almost put my hand clear through it. And there's the cone. One little interesting thing that I found out last year that you got to do to make this bearing go on that part of the axle right there where it tapers out. I got talking to the AGCO dealer, Plevna Implement, out of Kokomo, Indiana. And they told me what they do is they have like a big turkey fryer. And they'll drop that thing in oil and heat it up to about 350 degrees. Well, problem is, by doing that, that means the whole entire thing is all covered with oil. And so it makes quite a mess. Last year, a neighbor gave us a quick idea. And so what we do, the rental house that we have here at the farm, we take and put this bearing in the oven and set the oven on about 350 to 400 degrees. It works great. And we do the same thing with the back bearing. Because I never knew it until another guy told me, but for every 100 degrees, metal will expand 1/1000th. And so heating it up to right at about 350, well, I guess you'd call that what, 3.5 thousandths or 4, however they'd call that, I guess, 1/1000th or 3 thousandths of an inch. I'd call it 3.5 thousandths. Anyway, and you'd be surprised because it's such a tight fit because they want that to grip that shaft right there good and tight, this inner ring. And you go and try and put that thing on there just normal temperature, it will not fit. You heat that thing up to 350, it'll drop right down over top of that like nothing. And then as it cools, it'll contract and grip good and tight on there. Voila, you got your bearing. And so then we do the same thing at the back bearing to make it go on the back of the axle right there where that, you know, there's a retainer that holds the bearing on. That's also how you set your preload on the bearing. And so, yeah, like I say, that's why I'm going to, that's what we've been doing today, getting parts lined up for that rebuild. This here is the outer grease seal. Nice big grease seal, or oil seal actually. And that goes right out here on the outside edge, and then the bearing goes in behind that. Because inside that final drive, you put 80-90 gear oil. And then there's got some additional bearings in here for, well, you see this shaft right here. This here's the drive shaft coming in through this hole. And you see that gear, that's actually drives that bowl gear right there. And there's a bearing that goes on each side of that little gear right there. And this drive shaft comes out of the housing, and that's it comes in and connects onto the drive coming off of the hydro transmission. So yeah, that's just a little parts update. Thought I'd do a video on, show y'all. And so, like I say, once I get the combine all cleaned up with the air gun and everything like that, that'll probably be a job that I'll probably be starting next week. Because I want to get that job done out of the way, because I've actually got a motor on our 1-ounce Chalmers 7060 that I just picked up an IT manual or INT manual for it, because I need to, it's getting a lot of exhaust blow by coming out of the valve cover vent tube. And so, looks like I'm going to be dropping out the pistons and putting new rings into it. So I'll be getting some videos on that, but I wanted to get a manual for it, that way I would have all the specs. And so yeah, like I say, that's just a little kind of something that I'm doing on a rainy afternoon, so just thought I'd show you right quick. Take care, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.